The 100 Parables. Praising the virtues of one's own father. Once upon a time, there was a person who praised the virtues of his father. He said, "My father is very compassionate. He never harms or steals. My father always speaks the truth and practices charity." Upon hearing these words, a foolish person passing by said, "The virtue of my father is even greater than yours." Curious, those around inquired, "What virtues does your father possess?" The foolish one replied, "Since my father was young, he has abstained from indulging in sensual pleasures." People around then remarked, "If your father has abstained from sensual pleasures since he was young, how could you have been born?" At that moment, everyone burst into laughter. Three-story house. Once upon a time, there was a wealthy but foolish man. One day, he visited the house of another wealthy person. He marveled at the three-story house, tall, spacious, and adorned with an air of grandeur. He thought to himself, "My wealth is no less than his. Why don't I quickly build a house like that?" So, he called a carpenter and said, "Can you build a house like that for me?" The carpenter replied, "Of course. I built that house." He then instructed, "Well, now build a house like that for me." The carpenter leveled the ground and laid the foundation. When the fool saw that, he became confused. So, he asked, "What are you doing?" The carpenter replied, "I am building that three-story house." The fool then said, "I don't want the two lower floors. Build the third floor for me first." The carpenter responded, "That's impossible." The fool insisted, "Just build the third floor for me." Upon hearing this, everyone burst into laughter and said, "Whoever skips building the lower floors, how can they ever have the upper floors?" A fool kills his own child. Long ago, there was a man who believed that his knowledge was vast, including the art of fortune-telling and all other skills. With such arrogance, he traveled to another country to showcase his abilities. At that time, he carried his own child and wept. Someone asked him, "Why are you crying?" He replied, "This child will die within 7 days." Only then did people say, "The fate of a person is truly hard to know. Perhaps you have miscalculated." He said, "The sun and the moon may darken, the stars may fall, but my calculations will never be wrong." Driven by fame and to prove his words, on the 7th day, he personally killed his own child. When people heard that his child had died after 7 days, they all praised him as a genuinely wise person. They trusted him even more and came to pay their respects. A fool cooks honey. Once upon a time, there was a foolish person trying to cook honey. Right at that moment, a wealthy man came to visit. The foolish person thought to himself, "I should use the honey to entertain that rich gentleman." Thinking so, he poured a little water into the pot and placed it on the burning stove. Then, he took a fan to fan the pot, hoping to cool down the honey. Seeing this, the people around said, "If you don't turn off the fire underneath, no matter how much you continue to fan, the honey won't cool down." At that moment, everyone burst into laughter.